We're in beautiful Mapleton, where long-term house sitters are wanted all the time. The house next door to us, we were here for 2 weeks and she's like, can you house sit for me next? It's been quite amazing. Makes you wonder what you've got to pack when you've got a long-term house sit, doesn't it?
Off they go, bags in tow. Matt and Chrissy hit the road. Maps unfold, stories.
Depending on the location will obviously depend on how much stuff you need to consider. The more remote you are, the more likely you'll need to take more food. Where we are at the moment, it's about a half-hour drive to the local Coles. So that was initially a concern. However, Coles do deliver. There's no point for us to drive an hour round trip plus the shopping time, unless of course you're wanting to go shopping, because Coles will deliver for less than $10. I don't know about you, but my time's worth more than $10.
Oh, look, we'd spend more than $10 in fuel going backwards and forwards. The hills around here, they're mammoth. Like, you've got to be a mountain goat to get up some of them.
When we were in that location up north of Bundy, groceries didn't get delivered, and again that was a half-hour drive to the local supermarket.
There's remote and then there's remote. This is regional, that was remote.
You're going to have to taper some of this with where you're going to be located.
When it comes to the sort of things that you need to pack for a long-term house sit, what comes to mind for you? What can you not go 6 weeks or 10 weeks without?
Well, maybe I'm a bit precious, but I do get a lot of neck pain, so for me, my pillow is a must.
Yeah, I've known people in other industries do FIFO that they take their pillow with them wherever they go.
So I'm not the only one who's precious. Yes!
No, even hardcore miners are precious. All soft at the end of the day, eh?
We all like our comforts. So I guess that kind of leads us into creature comforts. What are some things that you feel that you must take with you when you go on long trips?
A short trip I can do with just having the electric toothbrush charged up, but not having the charger, that could be a bit of an issue. So I'll probably get about a week out of the toothbrush before it goes flat. Toothbrush charge is probably the biggest thing for me, because everything else I take with me, I take wherever I go, regardless of whether I'm there for a week or 5 weeks. Backpack's all loaded with the same clothes. You can tell I'm always wearing tie-dye rainbow stuffs. Laptops there.
Well, our laptops are a big must. We are digital nomads. Our computers and our phones and our technology are right up there at the top of the list. For you, however, someone forgot his hair clippers this long house sit.
Yeah.
And so if you are someone who does their own maintenance, like cutting your own hair or beauty routine.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I think he's more high maintenance than me these days.
Yeah. Okay, so it's not just the toothbrush charger, it's the clippers, it's the hair dye, it's the... All right, yeah.
Hey, whatever makes you happy. I mean, this is what makes Matt happy. So he likes to bring his colours and his clippers and stuff like that. That's not going to fit everybody's lifestyle. So what is important to you? Throw it in the notes below. We'd love to hear what you think is important on a long trip away.
What can you not go 6 weeks or 10 weeks without? Or more, yeah.
Clothes are obviously kind of essential, but when you're on these longer house sits, you need to consider the climate. For example, if we were up in the Northern Territory, the likelihood is that you're not going to need winter clothes. If you're out in the bush, like we are here, you want to have clothes which are light and airy. It's still quite tropical, but you want it to cover you up a bit, because the march flies, for example, can be quite ferocious.
I've seen them carry away chihuahuas. Yeah.
So taking things into consideration like that, the more tropical, you're going to get more bugs, so you might want to consider having some sort of bug repellents. You're not going to want to dash to the grocery store every time something comes up. So those type of things I think are quite handy. And then obviously if you're in a cooler climate, you would probably want to consider having something to keep you warm. If it's an area like Auckland that rains quite a lot, then you might want to have a poncho or a rain jacket or an umbrella or something like that with you.
But there's a really simple solution. Just don't go to those cold places. Why do it?
Yeah.
In my opinion, if there isn't an aurora borealis or an aurora australis, the cold's just not worth it.
But we appreciate that some people love the cold. So if you're one of those people who love the cold climate and you want to house sit somewhere like Mount Rangitoto or and you are going to be doing lots of hiking while you're there, that sort of equipment is going to be an essential part of what you're going to pack to take with you.
Yeah, well, when it comes to hiking and things like that, if you are going to be on longer sits, you might also want to consider making sure not just that footwear and stuff like that are appropriate, but as Chrissy was talking about before with the marsh flies, think also about pest protection. And you know, we've had some hikes that we've done in parts of Victoria where it's been cold, and I've been wondering why I'm there, and we were mauled by leeches.
Yeah, the leeches were
and
pretty crazy.
Even around here, Chrissy's found at least half a dozen ticks in the time that we've been in this area.
Two.
I'm going to call it half a dozen ticks because the tick you don't see is the tick that you've got to worry about.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you can think of which is a must-have on a long house sit?
Other must-haves on long-term house sits, particularly when you've got long-term house sitters wanted in remote locations, you really want to make sure that you've got enough fuel in the tank to get from where you're staying back to the next service station or fuel station. Yeah, make sure that you are prepared for that, because the last thing you want to do is find that you're half an hour drive into a regional or a rural area with no services, no supply, and that's maybe a 50-kilometre drive, and you've got enough left in the tank to do 30 kilometres. Always plan and make sure you've got enough fuel to be able to get you out there, and consider other things that you may need in your vehicle too. Check and make sure your spare tyre's got enough air in it. Check and make sure that your jack works. You may have to have torches and things like that. Just plan for those potential breakdowns on those long-term house sits in those far, hard to reach locations. You may also want to consider having access to a telephone network that actually covers you across a broader range of locations. Some carriers just don't go into those places, so think about that.
That's a really, really good point. And we have spoken about upgrading our telephone service a number of times, and we're very close to doing that. We're currently on the Optus network, which is not that good. I mean, it's not terrible.
It's good where it works.
Exactly. But if you're going to a remote location, and some places we've been to haven't been what I would consider all that remote, but there is no network coverage.
No. In some cases, you've only got to be 10 minutes out of town and you lose coverage with Optus.
That's true.
Yeah.
For us, we're actually going to be upgrading soon. We're looking into Starlink because the intention for us is that we want to travel to more of those remote locations. So that might be something that you want to consider. If you're doing a long-term house sit in a central city type location, I would say you could get away with most everything. I suppose the benefit that comes along with that also is that all of your access to things is close by. You have more luxury in not worrying too much. If you forget your toothbrush, it's a 2-minute drive to the local supermarket. That's okay. But if you're looking at a remote location, then you need to be more organised.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share it, do all that stuff. Help us get the word out there. Engage.
So what would you take on your long-term house sit?
I'm curious to know what it is that you take.
All right, guys. See you on the next one. Bye.
Buenos tacos.